Hey, what's up? This is Dwayne, Illinois Distribution at Help with Your Crib, Help with a Car, JRManagementLLC.com. Give us a call at area code 937-215-4388 or 313-728-4404. Or you can check us out at Help with Your Crib, Help with a Car, JRManagementLLC.com. Okay, guys. Have you guys ever ran into a situation with your car running hot and you find out that the cooling fan. Well, first thing I want to ask you is, have you went through the proper steps first to why your car is running hot? Okay, there's several reasons, especially if you're out on the road. But as far as with my Aztec and what happened with me, first thing I changed that I know that was due to be changed was the thermostat, which this is the 3.8 liter motor. It's right here, and it's a pain in the ass to do, but I usually do that at least every season. Another thing that might possibly cause coolant problems or overheating problem is possibly your radiator, but you want to check, make sure it's holding fluid or whatnot. You also got your coolant tank. If it's running hot, this is your coolant tank. This is gonna reserve water and put it back into the system, or it's gonna boil it out if it's running hot. Okay. But something that I noticed with my Aztec after I changed the thermostat, it was still kind of running hot, but it only ran hot when it was at a standstill or at a pretty much at standstill or in traffic. So. But once I got going on the road, it started to cool off, but it still didn't sit at normal temperature. Normal temperature should be right at your half point, maybe a little bit higher. Just all depends on the weather. But in my situation, it was staying above normal, which was really worrying me. So everything that I just suggested to you to check out first, I checked that. But there was one other thing that you might want to check out, and that is the cooling fans. The cooling fans, they're right here in between your radiator and this is an older car. This is like an '02 whatnot, and the cooling fans, that's like partial heart of the system, of the cooling system, which keeps the radiator cold, keeps it cool, and keeps your engine cool. Okay, so I checked that, and what I did is I wanted to check full power to see if any power was even going to the cooling fans. And for some odd reason, I wasn't getting a connection or any power going to the fans. So if you're in a pinch and you really don't want to deal with the money of finding out if it's a sensor or it's the relays and all that, you could do what I call as a bypass. You can bypass this system. I usually recommend this on older cars, like this one. But what you want to do first is, of course, you want to find the cooling fans, okay? And you want to get some wire that's pretty much the same gauge or the same size as the wires that's on the cooling fan, because what you could end up doing is overloading this wire, and it'll get hot and may even cause a fire. So you don't want to do that. The first thing I did is I spliced into this, which is what I'm doing is I'm bypassing the system here as far as whatever relays was going on, telling this fan to come on. I'm going to set this thing to where it comes on every time I turn ignition on. That way I know I'm not running hot. So what I had to do is you have to find fuse that's in the fuse box. It's a pain. This is also a pain in the ass because you're gonna have to test each individual fuse. But what I would suggest too is use a higher ampage fuse. Okay, you got your 10 amps, you got your 30, your 20. You want to try and go with pretty much the highest amp possible. But on my trick, what I did is I checked my diagram, and I went with fuse 59, and 59 is the cooling fan. Okay, I did test this relay which is also a relay and a fuse. I tested this and it still came back okay, and I also replaced it. It's also okay. So it could be a number of shit that's going on with this thing while this cooling fan ain't coming on. But every time I hit the ignition, this thing gets power, which is a good thing. So which means I can actually wire this. I'm gonna actually wire this to my fan, so that every time I turn the ignition on, this thing stays cool. Now, one other thing that I would do also in this is in this bypass is I would create myself, which is called a fuse block. And so I'm pretty much doing a fuse in between a fuse to distribute this power to this fan, because it's taking also 12 volts. So in the event that while this thing is running and constantly, whereas before it was just running off the relays on and off, I don't want to cause an overload to the system. So if something happens where this may be getting too hot or overload, it's gonna blow this, which I'm cool with that. I'd rather blow this fuse than blow this or blow anything in this. So that's the only thing that I would suggest with this. Beware and be careful of which fuse you use. I would suggest definitely not using like the fuel pump fuse or the ignition fuse. Don't use any of those. Again, this is the AC relay. So I'm not AC relay, but the fan relay. So who gives a shit? I mean, it's fan related, so it's not going to deal with anything else as far as you doing this bypass. So I just want to show you all this and how I got this cleaned up. Now there's two fans that you can see. You got one here and you have one here. One of them is your coolant fan that keeps everything cool while the car is running, but when it gets really hot, then it kicks on the second fan, which also I didn't see that fan coming on when I turned the air conditioner on. So this is what I would do in an event that if I don't want to deal with something like this on an older car, trying to track down why the fans ain't coming on. If they work, you can do this bypass and run it into a fuse box even inside the car that turns on and off, and then run you a fuse block. I'm gonna clean all this up and tape all this, and I'll just show you the final result here in a minute. Okay, all right guys, we're back. All right, we got it all cleaned up. All right, and what I did is, I ran my bypass wire here, just along this loom, just to where it's out of the way. It's not going to be on the engine. It's not going to get hot or anything like that. Also, here's my fuse block that I created. I made sure it was all taped up good, so there's no moisture or anything that can get into this. And then I can also keep an eye on this when I'm checking my fluids or every other day or whatnot, or if I'm having trouble, I can check this fuse to make sure it ain't busted, because if something happens where this thing does overload, it's going to blow this instead of the box, the fuse box. And as you see, everything's all put away nice and clean, and let's give it a shot. Let's see how we do. Now it's just stay cool, and now it won't overheat. So now we have how the fan works, and that, my friends, is how you bypass the cooling fans to make them run, to keep your engine cool. So I hope that helped. Also, check us out at Help with a Car Online. Check us out at Facebook. Check us out at YouTube. Also, subscribe to our pages. Check us out on Twitter, IG. We keep things moving. We make it happen. If you have any auto repair questions, feel free to call us. Also, check out our cars on the 4K. I'm sure you guys seen earlier the Jaguar. It's an awesome car. We have plenty of others with the cars on the 4K. And that's what it do. This is Dwayne from L&L Distribution at Help with Your Crib, Help with a Car, JRManagementLLC.com. Give us a call at area code 937-215-4388 or 313-728-4404, or you can check us out at Help with Your Crib, Help with a Car, JRManagementLLC.com. All right, I'm out.